What if I told you that not eating could be one of the healthiest things you could do for your body? I know it sounds crazy, but that's exactly what fasting is all about. But I get it. The idea of skipping meals might sound like torture, especially when we are bombarded with messages to eat 6 small meals a day to quote unquote boost metabolism. But here's the thing. Fasting isn't just about not eating. It's about giving your body a break, a chance to reset and repair itself in ways you cannot achieve when you're constantly digesting food. Think of it like rebooting a computer when it's acting sluggish. So what actually happens when you fast? Let's break it down. Number 1, autophagy, the body's cleanup crew. When you fast, your body triggers a process called autophagy. It's an ancient process that has been with humans since the beginning of time. And it's like a cellular housekeeping system where your body breaks down and recycles old damaged cells. This process helps reduce inflammation, and it even lowers your risk of chronic diseases like cancer, Alzheimer's, or really anything in between. And autophagy was first discovered by Yoshinori Oshumi, who won the Nobel Prize in 2016 for his work. During fasting, your cells start to degrade and removing dysfunctional components, improving cellular health and longevity at the same time. And this process also helps eliminate pathogens that can play a role in slowing down the aging process by clearing out senescent cells, also often referred to as zombie cells. Number 2, fasting improves insulin sensitivity. Fasting helps regulate blood sugar levels and improve insulin sensitivity. And this can be a game changer for people struggling with insulin resistance or prediabetes. And here is the thing. Insulin resistance or a lack of insulin sensitivity is at the root cause of virtually all chronic diseases. There is a reason why Alzheimer's is called type 3 diabetes. It's a blood sugar or insulin sensitivity issue. And studies have shown that intermittent fasting can reduce fasting insulin levels by 20 to 31% and lower blood sugar by 3 to 6% in individuals with prediabetes. So already those who have blood sugar and insulin issues, it can make a significant difference in improving the situation. And improved insulin sensitivity allows your cells to respond better to insulin, making it easier to manage energy and reduce the risk of metabolic disorders like type 2 diabetes. And this also helps reduce fat accumulation, especially around the liver and abdomen, which are high-risk areas for metabolic disease. Number 3, fasting increases the secretion of growth hormone, which plays a role in fat loss, muscle gain, and cellular repair. And growth hormone levels can increase up to 5-fold during fasting, enhancing fat burning and preserving lean muscle mass. So some people think that, when they are fasting, they're going to lose lean muscle mass. Not true until you fast for 3 or more days. Within that time frame, you're going to preserve lean muscle mass and recycle damaged cells, and including muscle cells. Now, additionally, fasting helps regulate ghrelin, the hunger hormone, and leptin, the satiety hormone. And that creates a more balanced appetite and improved metabolic rate. And by stabilizing these hormones, fasting can help prevent overeating, reduce cravings, and promote more consistent energy levels throughout the day. Number 4, and that's I think why fasting is popular among a certain segment of the population, fat burning. When you're not eating, the body naturally switches from burning glucose to burning stored fat for energy. And that process is called, or that metabolic state is called ketosis, when your body makes ketones. It's the idea behind the ketogenic diet, to simulate exactly that without the fasting. And this is all known as metabolic switching, and it's key for weight management. This switch enhances mitochondrial function, increases fat oxidation, and promotes the production, as I said, of ketone bodies. Ketones are like rocket fuel for the brain and for other organs like the heart. In ketosis, the metabolic state triggered by prolonged fasting, has been shown to improve mental clarity, reduce inflammation, and even support endurance performance in athletes. And then now just imagine if you combine fasting with a ketogenic diet, you're on rocket fuel, baby. But number 5, let's continue here with the benefits, is brain health. Fasting boosts the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, and that supports cognitive function, as the name already implies, learning and memory. And some studies even suggest it can help protect against neurodegenerative diseases. Fasting also reduces oxidative stress, inflammation, as we already discussed, and it improves neuroplasticity, a key factor in brain health and mental clarity. The ketones produced during fasting serve as an alternate, I would argue preferred, energy source for the brain, promoting mental sharpness and resilience against age-related cognitive decline, like dementia and all of those issues that many people deal with as they get older because of insulin and glucose issues in the brain. Number 6 is gut health. Fasting allows the digestive system to rest and repair, reducing inflammation and promoting gut lining integrity, especially if you deal with leaky gut. It can also enhance microbial diversity and support the growth of beneficial bacteria. And that's because when you fast, when you abstain from food, very often the bad bacteria die first before the good ones die. So you can trigger a shift in your microbiome, a positive shift, by just abstaining from food for a little bit. And that's one of the reasons also why I encourage fasting if you deal with something like IBS or maybe bacterial overgrowth. So any of those issues, by not eating for a while, you can help with the reset before then going back to a more appropriate diet that discourages the growth of less than ideal bacteria. And then number 7, and that's something a lot of people forget, but that I find highly valuable and highly practical. By practicing fasting, you learn to be okay if you have to skip a meal. You've probably were in this position before. You're traveling or you're somewhere and you're getting hungry and there is nothing, no good source of food, no healthy source of food, and you end up buying junk food or fast food because you had no other choice. Well, the other choice is to not eat. And if you're used to fasting, if that doesn't make you fall apart, then it's very easy to just say, you know what? I'm not going to eat. I'm going to skip that dinner. I'm going to skip that breakfast. I'm going to skip that lunch, whatever. It doesn't bother me. I'm used to it. That's incredibly powerful because it reduces stress, especially if you're traveling a lot, or you might find yourself in situations where there are less than ideal food sources or food choices. Just skip them. Now, here's the thing. Fasting isn't a static process. Your body goes through different phases as time progresses. So let's step through this to figure out what is happening inside of your body if you fast for a certain period of time. For example, between the 12 and 14 hours, your body starts depleting its glycogen stores. Glycogen is glucose stored in the liver and in muscle tissue together with water. If you don't eat and you're running low on glucose to maintain level and healthy blood sugar levels, your body starts depleting glycogen. It starts taking it from the liver at first and then later on from muscle tissue. And it starts burning. And once those have been depleted, the body can actually then, or roughly at the same time, start also burning fat for energy. As your insulin levels drop, it makes it then easier to access that stored fat because insulin is a fat storing hormone. It takes something and stores it, in cells, or it stores fat. Once insulin levels drop, you can actually access then your own fat storage. And that helps with, burning fat, obviously, but it also helps with maintaining stable blood sugar as well as energy levels because there's always energy or fuel available, and this is when metabolic switching really begins and you start getting the benefits of metabolic flexibility, the ability to go back and forth between different fuel sources. After 24 hours, autophagy kicks into high gear, clearing out damaged cells and making way for new healthy cells. Growth hormone levels rise significantly at that time, promoting fat burning and muscle preservation. And at this point, inflammation starts to decrease and your body focuses on internal repairs. And that's an absolutely critical part and aspect of fasting. You want to get into that autophagy every so often. And the longer you can hold it after 24 hours, the more beneficial it is. After about 48 hours, ketone production increases significantly. So even if you've never been in ketosis, chances are at about the 2-day mark, you are in ketosis and you're burning fat for energy and fueling the brain and the heart and other organs with ketones. At that point, also inflammation markers further decrease and mental clarity often improves to the steady fuel supply of ketones. I notice at the end of my 48-hour fast, even if I'm hungry or feel like and I typically work out during those fasts, so I'm kind of deplete more energy, expend more energy than I maybe should. But I can tell my brain, everything, my senses are on high alert. The brain is working. And that's, again, an ancient mechanism because you need to be sharp to hunt, to have a successful hunt, to hunt for food, to hunt an animal and fuel yourself again. And this is an incredibly important phase of that fasting. Your immune system begins to regenerate and the risk of chronic inflammation-related conditions start to diminish. And that's why I fast for 48 hours once a month to make it part of my routine. Now, after 72 hours, stem cell production ramps up, boosting immune system regeneration, which is incredibly important also for longevity and for keeping chronic disease at bay. And this phase can help with, tissue repair, reducing chronic inflammation and resetting immune responses. The body enters a deep healing state and significant cellular repair occurs. Now, if you get longer than this, extended fasting can lead to even deeper detoxification and metabolic health benefits. But you probably also want to, do this either under supervision, or if you, especially if you're not experienced with that, kind of keep in mind or keep an eye on electrolyte levels, and make sure you're doing fine and you're not running your body into potential issues. Now, I've been incorporating intermittent fasting into my routine for years, and the benefits are undeniable. I have more mental clarity when I fast, better energy levels, better gut health, and improved body composition. And I'm not alone. Research backs this up with countless studies showing how fasting can improve metabolic health, support longevity. One of the best things you can do to increase your health span and lifespan is to intermittently fast. Even can increase athletic performance. I typically do 2 CrossFit workouts during my 48-hour fast, one at the 24-hour mark and then the second one at the 48-hour mark, before kind of celebrating my successful hunt and fueling myself. Now, there are a couple of things you wanna keep in mind with fasting, because some people believe that if a little bit is good, more is always better. And as with any hormetic stress, repeat, cold plunging, sauna bathing, fasting, exercise, more is not always better. What I do is on a regular basis, I fast for 12 to 16 hours every single day, pretty much just based on my eating schedule. I eat 2 meals a day, late breakfast typically after workout, and then an early dinner. And then, I wait until next morning around 10 a.m. to have my next meal. And so that automatically puts me into a 12 to 16 hour fast every single day. And it's very easy. It's not stressful for me. It's just part of my routine. And then every month or so, I do a 2-day fast, typically combined with high intensity type of workouts to mimic a failed hunt and then a successful hunt, to kind of go back to ancestral principles, how humans and our ancestors, what they would have experienced out in the wild when not every hunt was successful. But there are a couple of things you can do to make your fast more successful. Number one is stay hydrated. Drink plenty of water. You can also do herbal teas. You can do black coffee, depending on the goal of your fasting. If it's not necessarily gut health, but some of the other benefits, you could even experiment with some MCT oil, some butter, some cream, just fat, no protein, no carbohydrates, obviously, but some fat is not going to derail all of your fasting efforts. You also probably want to ease into it. Start with shorter fasting windows. Get used to 12 to 14 hours, then gradually extend them to maybe 24 hours before you do a longer fast. It's better to be successful on a shorter fast, to create that reward system in your brain to say, okay, I can do this because there's a reward after. I'm winning. I did it, than trying for a longer one and then failing and getting discouraged and not doing it again. Focus also on nutrient-dense foods, especially during your eating windows. I recommend going on a lower carb diet. Doesn't necessarily have to be a ketogenic diet or a carnivore diet, but removing or reducing your carbohydrate intake before your fast, because that already nudges your body towards burning fat for energy, which makes the fasting then so much easier. If you have a big bowl of pasta, right before you start your fast, you get a major spike in glucose. It probably is going to come crashing down, and then you're going to feel crappy. Whereas if you had a high fat, high protein meal, easing it into the fasting is significantly easier. When I start my fast, I have a very high protein, high fat breakfast on the day that I start the fast, typically the first Monday of the month. And then it's easy to skip dinner because I'm not even hungry. I ate so much for breakfast. I go to bed, go CrossFit the next morning. I start getting a little hungry around, my past workout time. I get over this. Then I get really hungry for dinner time on the second day. And then I go to bed again, do another workout, and then I fuel, and I'm perfectly fine. It's also important to manage stress while you're fasting, because stress drives up cortisol. Stress it's a natural response for your body to say, we need energy. We are in a stressful situation. And for your brain, that means fighting a saber-toothed tiger or running away from it. So the brain tells you, fuel, fuel, fuel. We need it for the fight. Even though your stressors have nothing to do, they're not life-threatening typically. They are, be it medical bills, parenting, whatever the case might be. Try to reduce those stressors to prevent your body from signaling you need food, because that, your brain, the chemicals your brain releases are very often stronger than what you can withstand. So keep your stress levels low. It's going to make your fasting so much easier and reduce cravings and the need to eat. You can also stay busy. That's why I start on a Sunday, where, on Monday I have a busy day with a lot of calls, a lot of, back and forth, workout in the morning. I get distracted, takes my mind off of eating. If you're sitting on the couch all day and, all you'll be thinking is food. So keep yourself distracted, busy, but not stressed. That's important. And then last but not least, electrolyte balance is important. Add a pinch of salt to your water, use an electrolyte supplement. I recommend keeping a somewhat good balance between sodium and potassium. I've noticed that if I do too much sodium without the necessary amount of potassium, I pee more often, and then I flush out even more electrolytes, so that's not a good thing. But electrolyte supplements or just a pinch of salt into your water can be incredibly effective at keeping your hunger at bay, because sometimes when you're thirsty, dehydrated, or low on electrolytes, you feel fatigued, headaches, crappy, dizzy, hungry, and all of that can be avoided, or at least significantly reduced. Now, there are different ways of fasting. I mentioned already some of which I do. There is the intermittent, the 16-8 method, basically, where you fast for 16 hours and then eat within an 8-hour window. It's easy to maintain. It fits most lifestyles. It might be challenging initially, but I think everyone can do that. You can do alternate day fasting, where you eat one day, abstain from food the other day. Can be intense and hard to sustain long term, but some people do that as a lifestyle, not just once a month or so. There are 24-hour fasts, you eat, stop, eat. You maybe once a week or so, you don't eat for 24 hours. That's possible. There are strong, insulin sensitivity and autophagy benefits by doing that. Extended fasting, 48 to 72 hours, incredibly good for longevity, detoxification, reducing a risk of chronic diseases. That's what I do once a month. Again, you don't want to overdo it. You don't need to not eat for 2 days every week. You also want to fuel yourself. You want to make sure you can grow muscle tissue if that's your goal, but incorporate it intermittently. That's really one of the things that I would recommend. Now, there are, some people say, well, but not everyone should fast, right? No, there are cases where you probably don't want to fast, or do it later, or play with the timing or the length of your fast, like pregnant or breastfeeding women. Their nutritional needs are higher. I would recommend, don't fast if you're expecting, if you're pregnant or if you're breastfeeding. You need all the calories you need to help either the fetus develop or to produce enough milk, right, for your baby. Children and teens also don't really require, fasting. They require, consistent, good nutrition. Now, here's the thing. We don't ask our kids to fast. We don't force them to fast, but we also don't force them to eat when they're not hungry. Sometimes they come and say, hey, I'm not hungry, I'm not going to have breakfast. And they fast unintentionally, or intentionally really, but without our doing or recommendation, for up to 24 hours. Usually not that long, but we've had cases where, they only eat one meal a day and they're fine. Whatever the reason might be on that particular day, if they're not hungry, we're not going to force them to eat, But when they're hungry, they can eat. So we don't obey to the, now it's mealtime and only now you can eat. If you're hungry or not, I don't really care. Or you need to finish your plate because it's good manners or whatever. No, they eat when they're hungry. They don't eat when they're not. And obviously when they eat, we make sure that they eat the food that's appropriate for them. So it's not like, I don't want to have my steak because then I'm going to go and get some candy. Well, first of all, we don't have candy at home. But even if we had, that's not going to fly, But within that framework, they eat when they're hungry, they don't eat when they're not. It's simple enough. And sometimes it means they're fasting. If you have, eating disorders, obviously fasting can trigger unhealthy behaviors, worsening existing conditions, and you probably don't want to do that. If you're already underweight, and have nutritional deficiencies, it's probably better to focus on eating good quality food that's high in those nutrients instead of adding fasting and potentially exacerbating, the issues that you have. Or if you have certain medical conditions, you might need some guidance from a knowledgeable healthcare professional, especially if you're on insulin medication or whatever. You want to make sure all of that works together and you can come off that medication, via fasting, but don't do it in a way that might potentially then, cause issues. To wrap everything up, the next time, you think about reaching for that snack just because it's time to eat, it's noon or it's breakfast time or it's dinner time, consider this. Your body might benefit more from a little break than from having that food at that moment. Fasting isn't a magic bullet by any means, but it's a powerful tool that you can use to support your health, longevity, and lifespan, or health span more importantly. It's one of those tools where you don't have to buy anything. You're actually saving money by doing it, and it's so easy. Everyone can do it. Everyone has the tools. All you have to do is not eat for a while. It's so simple and so powerful, and I highly encourage you to give it a try. And to learn more about the benefits of fasting, I have a dedicated blog post you can check out. I'm going to link it down below. But if you found this video helpful, hit the like button, subscribe for more science-backed health insights, and let me know in the comments if you've tried fasting and what your experience was like. Thanks for watching. Until next time.